welcome everybody. Where is my PowerPoint? So we will record this session, the ceremony. If you would not like to have your picture in the video, turn off your video, I would say. And it's up to me to welcome you all to this ceremony, the ENLIGHT Open Science Award ceremony. Let me share my screen. Just a moment, so that you can follow what I'm saying. Okay. Do you see my presentation, Metal?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. There we are. So welcome to the ENLIGHT Open Science Award ceremony of 2023. This is an initiative of the ENLIGHT Rise Open Science team. And I mentioned already ENLIGHT Rise. So let me first start by explaining what ENLIGHT Rise is. Now, as an Erasmus Plus project, European universities emerged the last few years. The European universities are a transnational alliance, so alliances across national borders to become the universities of the future. And there have been two calls in 2019 and one in 2020. And ENLIGHT is one of the alliances out of the call of 2020. So we are an alliance of 9 universities in 9 countries, and they are all comprehensive research intensive universities, and they share a deep commitment to their social responsibility. You can see on the map where we all are. So it's a nice community to work with. There is a focus in ENLIGHT. There's a focus in education on the 5 flagship challenges, being health and well-being, digital revolution and impact of digitalization, climate action, energy transition and circular economy, and equity. And these 5 flagship challenges are connected to cities as a common denominator in the project. So this is a focal point of major societal challenges and a testbed for new learning formats. ENLIGHT, the alliance is mainly focused at education, but within Horizon 2020, there were also SWAF's project, Science with and for Society, and there with the ENLIGHT Alliance, we applied for funding for a research component for the alliance, and that became ENLIGHT Rise. What we want to do in ENLIGHT Rise is that we deploy a comprehensive joint transformation agenda in research and innovation in synergy with the educational component with and for society, with the ambition to become more competitive and innovative together. So it's a joint effort. We have 2 missions: to create value for society together, set the stage for developing a joint competitive ENLIGHT research and innovation agenda, and achieve a quantum leap in co-creating research and innovation with and for society. This is a SWAF's project. So this is a centralized project with a focus on the research support, and we want to facilitate research connections across borders in our universities. Now, within this project, we have a focus on researchers and their environment, and an important one there is open science incentives and starter kits. So this Open Science Award, of course, works in the frame of open science incentives. Now, what do we do with open science in ENLIGHT? So the open science teams in the different universities work together, and the 9 universities work together. And what we want to do is, create a joint open science vision and implementation plan. What can we do together? How can we achieve it together? We want to improve open science support practices across the ENLIGHT Alliance, and create incentives for an open science culture as basis for a joint ENLIGHT research infrastructure. This work is led by the University of Göttingen, and the co-leads are from Ghent University, that's my university, and University of Tartu. So we work together to achieve this. Now, I want to highlight two things that we do in the Open Science Network of ENLIGHT. That's first of all, the Open Science Ambassadors Network, which is a network of researchers affiliated to one of the ENLIGHT universities and who are engaged in open science. They have an interest in it one way or the other, incorporated in their work, promoted. They talk about it within their communities or across their communities, so they inspire and enable their co-fellows. They reach out and engage to the outside world, outside of their own network, and they facilitate and promote open science in their work. And today we have an open science ambassador, Juan Armando, who will talk about his work in open science after the next slide. Because the Open Science Award is, of course, also one of these things that we focus on within the Open Science team of ENLIGHT. So what we want to do is reward initiatives or projects that contribute to the ENLIGHT Open Science agenda and that promote open science within the ENLIGHT community and their network and beyond. That is what we want to do with the Open Science Award. But to frame what we are working on, we will first hand the floor to Juan Armando from the University of Göttingen, who, as an open science ambassador, will talk about his work on the subject, and that is multilingualism as a key challenge for open science and research assessment. And that is where I will stop my presentation. Meryl, if you could put up John's presentation, then he can tell us more about his work.
Yes, let me try.
Thank you. So John, give us a minute. There we are. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And welcome, everybody. So I'm very proud to stay here with you. Maybe the audio is not good because I am just in a meeting here in Endaya, and so, but I try to explain as brief as possible my speech. My presentation is about multilingualism as a key challenge for open science and research assessment. I am an assistant professor of the University of the Basque Country, and I teach in the Faculty of Pharmacy. So, first of all, egunon, medinheit, dobre rano, tere homicust, guten morgen, guten morgen, buenos dias, bonjour, and good morning. So, to make this speech, I based on Helsinki initiative on multilingualism in a scholarly communication and the agreement of European Commission about reforming research assessment. So, putting in context the issue, we have to take into account that making science open requires research accessible for different audience. So to reach this goal, it's very important a diverse, multilingual, and locally relevant research. According to experts, mainly experts from Helsinki Initiative document, research assessment should recognize and reward researchers' ongoing multilingual communication practices. Also, research assessment has to address language biases in research metrics and expert evaluation. And the experts advert that if research is communicated exclusively in English, it is inherently limited. Why? Because almost half of the European are not able to speak any foreign language well enough to hold a conversation, and only a little more than 1/3 are able to do so in English. So in the next slides, in this slide, we put the attention, we have to put the attention it is clear, according to experts, that the quality of research doesn't depend if the research is communicated in English. This doesn't mean that all local languages publications need to be translated into English, and not also all publication in English need to be translated into local languages. But we must stimulate and encourage multilingual publishing, communication, and dissemination practices, and not using machine translation. So, but that's we have another question in this issue. But how we can make multilingualism part of the research assessment? The main point, or the main goal in this question, I think, is the selection of evaluators and their language skills. Those skills should be a relevant concern in assessment. Research published in languages other than English is very poorly represented in the largest international citation indexes. As you know, in Web of Science and Scopus, the main language is English. So this is another goal, another challenge we have in front. It's mandatory to protect national infrastructures for publishing locally relevant research, and also reclaim the ownership of publication channels by academic communities. If you take into account 75% of European spending on scientific journals goes to the big five publishers. These mega publishers treat publishing research mostly as a means of increasing profits, thereby demoralizing the idea of open science. This is very bad for open science. This business model is very bad for open science, idea on open science. So multilingualism, they see as an obstacle because it is easier to publish and sustain infrastructures only in English. And languages with fewer users are overloaded and become invisible if we maintain this type of policy. It is very important to reclaim key communication channels and own them by the academic community and learning societies. So this is a crucial step if we want to maintain or achieve the goals of open science. To achieve a fully open science and multilingual scholarly publishing, national journals and book publishers need to be safeguarded in their transition to open access. We must to invest more resources, money, more funds to obtain sufficient resources to support and maintain high standards of quality, control, and research integrity of those multilingual scholarly publications. For that, I think an experts from European Commission recline this aspect in the assessment of research and in the open science. So, eskerrik asko, gurai mil mehaha, dakuhem mono rat, tanandit vaga, arteling dank, taxamaiket, vielen dank, muchas gracias, merci beaucoup, thank you very much for your attending. And if you have any question, I'm ready to answer if it is possible.
Yes, thank you very much, John. Yeah, we still have a few minutes for questions. So if anyone wants to react or has a question for John, please go ahead. Raise your hand or yes, Birgit.
So I was wondering, I mean, is multilingualism really an obstacle for publishers? I mean, in times of AI, they might say, well, we can offer something, maybe not a translation, which is for every paper edited, but some workaround. What do you think about this?
Yes, it could be an option. We have exclusively some policies and some strategies to translate specific and very interesting research works to our normally minority language as Euskara, Basque language, and we have a very well controlled and very well applied strategies with professional translators, also with experts in the area, research area, and in the last step, the linguistics, to trying to correct technical aspects of the test. This is an interesting via, but I think the goal is not the translation, and there is also very good there are very good neuronal translators strategies, but if we want to encourage, and if we want to have in the future researchers with an open mind and open science idea, I think it's better to try to improve in the skills, language skills of those professionals, and step by step trying to give more importance to multilingualism and communication skills. That's my opinion, and I think it could be both translation strategies. They are useful and they are very important, but we can't forget the other parts, the lifelong learning and the language skills. I think they are very important.
Thanks, John. Denise, you have a question as well.
Actually, it's kind of been asked and answered already in a way. I think you've just highlighted what I was thinking as well, which is there's kind of three issues here. One is the language skills that people have or don't have across Europe. Two is the fact that you know, the publishing channels for non-English research need to be cultivated more and sort of brought to the fore. And then the third thing is the translation issue, because there's obviously a big role for technology to be played here. Because the problem, I suppose, is that if we go along without that translation, there's going to be just echo chambers. So the Western sort of English language science is going to just kind of recapitulate, and there's going to be there's not going to be cross fertilization across the world with other languages, minority languages, not just Europe, but across the world. So thank you, John. That was interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to you.
Any other questions or remarks? Well, then, thank you, John, for leading us into the subject. Oh, Madeline.
Yes.
This has
Can I
yes.
make a point? Here in the University of Basque Country, we have a very nice experience in the managing of languages. That is Euskampus. It's a foundation of the University of the Basque Country, and they manage around 4 languages in meetings and in science, and you can take note about this foundation, and they are I think they are obviously they are very, very, very kind, and they can give you information about that. Or if you want information, you can contact with Marta Valenderan or with me as you want, and I pass them the request. Yeah, thank you to you. So I'm very proud to stay here with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, John. And a round of virtual applause for your presentation. Thanks a lot for pointing that out to us. Now, this brings me to the ceremony itself. If I can share my screen again. One moment. Where are we? There we are. So that brings us, as said, to the ceremony itself, the award ceremony. And as said, we reward initiatives and projects that contribute to the ENLIGHT open science agenda and that promote open science within the ENLIGHT community network and beyond. How did we work? We set out the call for applications early this year, and we asked for projects to come forward in our ENLIGHT universities that have used open science to make their research, teaching, learning, and work more accessible, transparent, or reproducible. Projects that have initiated an activity on open science at their institution, or activities that support the ENLIGHT community to adopt and implement open science practices and or principles in their work. Now, if you look at the selection process, we received 14 applications from all universities, so that from all universities at least one, so that was very, very nice. After doing an eligibility check, an evaluation committee reviewed all the applications, and the evaluation committee consisted of 3 people from the Open Science Ambassadors Network, 5 people from the ENLIGHT PhD Network, and 5 people from the ENLIGHT Open Science team. So they reviewed the applications, scored them, and that led us to 2 awardees. I'm going back to this one later. So we have 2 awardees, and the first one, might I ask for your virtual applause for the AGAPE Open Science team with Aswathi Surendran, Cassandra Murphy, and Nina Trubanová. Congratulations for receiving the award. And the next one is Juan Armando Torres Munguía. With his team, he received the 2nd award. Now, I'm not going to say much about the awards because I will let them do themselves, but I can say that the AGAPE team from the School of Psychology of the University of Galway, in Ireland, they have a project called Building an Open Science Practicing Community for Early Career Researchers. So this is aimed at the early career researchers. And we have here Cassandra Murphy and Nina Trubanová, who can explain more about the project. So may I invite them to present their project for the next few minutes, so that we can all hear what it's all about. So the floor is yours. I think Cassandra will talk, or Nina.
It'll be me. I don't think
Hi.
Nina can make it.
Hi, Cassandra.
Hello. So I will just share my screen. Perfect. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we do.
Lovely. Thank you. So as you mentioned, our project is about building an open science practicing community for early career researchers. So we are a bunch of PhDs from different universities in Ireland who all came together on a course run by lovely Denise that's here as well, that was called Opening Doors, and it was all about open science and working with communities. And when we were doing that, at the end of it, we felt like we had more to learn, but also more to give. So after a brief discussion, we decided that we wanted to create a MOOC, and meeting after meeting after meeting, it turned into an open science community. So I'll just take you through a little bit of what we have done so far and what we plan to do and where this whole project is at the moment. So these are some of the initiatives that we were working towards and our objectives. So the first was to build and maintain an open science practicing community. So pretty much to bring all the people who are interested in open science together to learn from each other, and to create this community that will be self-sufficient, really in line with open science goals, that we don't have to be there, we don't have to run it, we set it up, we get it in motion, and it will just be completely self-sufficient. With that comes some workshops, blogs, a collaborative platform, and of course the MOOC that started all of this. The second objective is to improve knowledge and practice in open science at PhD and early career researcher level. So pre-PhD, post-PhD, for undergraduates, to make this a norm. Because at the moment, we all felt something was missing in our own PhD journeys. And if we had known what open science was at the beginning of our academic journey, we'd be much more comfortable than we are right now, trying to practice it and put it into practice. So we're very passionate about making this something that is just common practice from the get-go, that once you come into academia, you understand it and that you follow the principles. And then we're also aware of the fact that there are people who are post-PhD who are still learning this, who don't fully understand it. So while it's aimed at PhDs and early career researchers, it's really open to everyone, because we all have something to learn and we all have something to give in this community. Our third objective was to create tools and resources for knowledge transfer and community building. So that's where our workshops and blogs and all of that comes in. So really going back to that idea of learning from each other, because we all have experience and we all have something to give. This is just a little screenshot of our MOOC that we designed. There was more than just the three of us doing this. There was many of us. I think 10 or 11 of us got involved. So this was really the starting point of learning from each other. None of us are experts. We'll all hold our hands up and say we're still learning. So the idea was that whatever you were comfortable with talking about, you designed that MOOC. Whatever you had practiced with, you designed that chapter. So it really is learning from each other. We took part in the OLS open science training, pretty much, where we learned to be open science ambassadors. And during that process, they helped us build this community and build this project to be very, very open. We learned a lot about GitHub that we didn't know before. And that really helped us get a structure on our MOOC. So during that, we designed a README, documentation about how to use the MOOC. And then during the process, we also did some bug reporting. So we put it out within our own institutions and got people to test it, because as with everything new, there will be problems. So the bug reporting went well, and now it's fully functional, thankfully. Then we had the collaboration platform, which is hosted on Mattermost, an open platform. Along with that, we had our vision statement, code of conduct, how to actually behave, what we expect from the community, and then some contributor guidelines around how to join the group, and just a place to have some open conversation, talk about any troubles we're having with open science, or ask for any help. We also had some expert interaction. So we did some interviews with people who've been working in this area for a while to see really what are the issues, how can we advocate for and find people in these roles, how can we learn with others, just see what people wanted from this group. We had our ideas, but for it to be collaborative, we needed everybody's ideas. So we got to speak to people who are already doing this and just to figure out what we need to do, how can we move forward. So this is just a brief overview of what we've done so far. So single point information space about open science for ECRs through the MOOC, an opportunity for ECRs to get familiar with the open science approach. Course is designed in such a way that after learning a topic, participants can try out the ECR friendly activities. So at the end of every chapter, there was a kind of take home exercise in that you were really putting what you learned into practice, and you got to actively learn, because everybody learns differently. So it gave people a chance to really do what we were telling them. Open science templates for course development. So everything that we did in our course development, in the MOOC development, is open for everybody to use, to copy, reproducibility, all of that. All the documentation is there ready for everybody to use, the interaction with experts and getting some interest in the community. And at the moment, we're discussing with librarians in the different Irish universities on how we can facilitate workshops and get that part of the community rolling. Our hope is to start this in Ireland and then take it international, but figure out how to do it on the ground here first. So this is what's next. Introduce the community and onboard more members, increase the opportunities for workshops and to promote open science activities, to promote the MOOC and get more views on the MOOC. And then of course, exploring funding opportunities, because workshops are not cheap to run. So to figure out all of that. If you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, or just see who's involved, get involved yourselves, you'll find everything you need to contact us there. We're on nearly every site that you could possibly find. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course, everything about our course is on our GitHub. And if you need to email us, you will find us there. So thanks so much for the opportunity and the award. It's our first recognition since we put this together. So we are all very grateful, only because we're all PhDs. The two girls couldn't make it because of other commitments, which I'm sure everybody understands. But just to reiterate that we are extremely grateful for this. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. I think this is a very nice example of an open science community where researchers support each other in the endeavor for open science. That's one thing that we very much liked in the project. And the second thing is that if we look at the ENLIGHT community, it looks like promising when you look for an international angle. Well, this is already a community that you could take into account. Are there any questions for Cassandra? Other remarks? Do you know, Cassandra, how many people are more or less active in the community? Not more or less, I say, because I know that many just react now and then.
I think we have, it's very small at the moment. We're still trying to get in to the different universities, but I think we have about 10 to 12 that are quite active.
Yeah. And they and how many universities are involved now then, if you look at these 10, 12 people?
I think it is, if I'm not wrong, about 5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know how many universities Ireland has, but maybe one of the others can fill me in on that. But I think it's quite important to already have several of these universities involved. That's absolutely an asset.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest. It's just getting the people signed up.
That's always the case, of course. Well, thanks a lot for sharing that project with us. We wish you good luck in the endeavors of the AGAPE Open Science community, and hope to interact in the future again. Thanks a lot, Cassandra.
Thank you.
And that brings me to our second awardee. Yes, we have 2 winners of our award. So we go to Juan Armando Torres Munguía. And I will let him explain what he did during the COVID pandemic and using, about global data sets of pandemic and epidemic-prone disease outbreaks. He will explain it in detail to you. The floor is all yours, Juan.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you see the presentation there?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for this nice introduction and welcome to this presentation. First, I would like to start thanking all the ENLIGHT initiative, particularly to the Open Science team for this opportunity, for the award, and well, for promoting open science. My special thanks go to the University of Göttingen, that is my institution, in particular to Professor Inmaculada Martínez Arzoso and my colleague Luis Díaz Paves, to the University of Groningen, Professor Constantin Vaca, and from the University of Bordeaux, Professor Cristina Badaro. Well, about this work, if someone is interested in reading the full research, it has been published in the Nature Scientific Data Journal. Here is the link, but at the end, I'm going to provide also more information. Well, during this presentation, I'm going to tell you how we went from administrative records that didn't have a structure to create an open, accessible, global data set of pandemic and epidemic-prone disease outbreaks. This presentation is divided in 3. First, the motivation, what is behind this work, the methodology that we follow to achieve our results, and I'm going to describe about the output that we had about this data set. Well, the need for data. We all know that this COVID-19 health crisis has stressed the need that to study from a scientific perspective the occurrence of epidemic and pandemic events. But this is not the only threat, like the only infectious disease that is threatening the world. Even before the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in 2019, there were more than 5.1 million lives that were claimed by infectious diseases. And in the last 20 years, we have observed that the number of outbreaks has been increasing constantly. And these are the 5 largest, or like the 5 infectious diseases that have hardest hit the world in the last 20 years. And well, to study a problem, we need data. And unfortunately, the existing data sets that we have, or like all the information that we have, is not complete regarding the number of diseases, or they focus exclusively on some regions, countries, or like in a continent. They do not come from official sources. So many times the cases are not confirmed. And most importantly, they are not publicly available and people cannot have access to them. And well, there's a principle that if we can measure something, we can manage it. And if we want to fight against the negative consequences of pandemic events, we first need data. So I'm going to talk about the process for achieving this. We start by using the administrative records created by the World Health Organization. This is an example. This information is contained in the disease outbreak news, but as you can see here that the information is different. It's just an example of two different cases that we collected from there. They are not made for statistical purposes, just by administrative purposes. And these are obtained by consultations made by the World Health Organization based on information of epidemiological, clinical, and laboratory investigations that they made with health institutions, for instance, or organizations around the world, but they're confirmed cases. But unfortunately, they have this format that is not allowing the users to explore the information in a statistical way. So we collected all the information from the website of the World Health Organization. We collected more than 2,700 disease outbreak news. Then we made a code to organize this information. We used data and text mining techniques in R. For instance, we removed duplicates. There were some cases that were not related to infectious diseases. They were related to other situations like conferences or things like that. So we created this code to read this information and extract the information that is useful for our purposes. And well, after more than 3,000 lines of code and some manual imputation, we have the output. The final data set, that was the goal to create a data set, contains information on more than 2,200 disease outbreaks. And in comparison to other data sets about this topic, we have 6 advantages in this in our results. First, about time, we have information from 1996. We have a wide geographic coverage of more than 200 countries and territories around the world. We cover information on 70 infectious diseases. We also introduced to the information, we added information on the code of an official name of the countries that is making easier to join this information with other data sources. We also have organized the name of the diseases following the International Classification of Diseases. Related to this project, we follow the FAIR guiding principles for scientific data management. And well, for transparency, replicability, and reproducibility purposes, we make all the data, the metadata, and the code to create this information publicly available from Fixture. So every user can use the code, run the code, and have the same results than us. And this is also allowing the users to update automatically from the website, because you're like downloading the information and it's continuously being updated. Well, I'm going to show you some uses and applications that we have. Well, this is just a map that we also included in our paper. But well, this data set can help us to identify, for instance, in which countries or regions of the world are more likely to develop or like to present the occurrence of these outbreaks. We can also identify if there are like temporal patterns, if there are correlates of these outbreaks, if the outbreaks are having an impact on other variables. And well, we also can analyze the data to compare if there are like some differences among different types of diseases. Well, what is further in this research? We're working with other institutions. We're in contact with other people. I mean, all the team that is working in this project, we are having conversations to develop new ideas to find, for instance, what is the impact or the correlates or what is behind the occurrence of these outbreaks. We are also working on developing a dashboard that will be more user-friendly for the people to access the data and to analyze the data. And well, this is all. Thank you very much. This is the contact information if someone want to stay in contact with me or make me another questions. There is also the link to the paper and also the link to the data that is completely open for everybody. No, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Juan. And again, congratulations for this work. What we really liked about it is that we see here an example of data being collected, made fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable out in the open through a repository with standardization methods applied to the data. So a really nice example of open, fair data used in research. So congratulations with this award, and we are very happy that you were able to present your work here in the ceremony. Let me open the floor to people. Is there anyone who has a question on this research?
I cannot raise my hand. It has vanished. So
okay.
I was wondering, Juan, how did you like the experience of the review process? I assume it was a bit different than in other papers, other journals.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, really interesting, but it was at the same time something new because normally, I mean, I have never been involved in a research that you're publishing a data set. So the particular challenge was to provide, like to provide the evidence that this, for instance, the code was working. The code was taking a lot of days to collect all the data because it was reading from the website and automatically collecting the information that we wanted, like following certain kind of patterns. So for the reviewers to test that, they were also able to, they were also actually making comments about the code and giving some suggestions to improve, like how fast was the code, or like to be able to be reproducible in all the type of computers. And yeah, I mean, I think that to me, that was my most important learning from that experience. And yeah, I mean, the rest of activities were analyzing the information that we collect to compare the data set if the findings that we had were like related to, or like to contrast if the data that we had was related to other information that we know. For instance, in the map of in this map, use another map and you just like compare like the distribution, for instance, of access to clean water in the world, or like potable water. You can see, I mean, this pattern in Africa is going to be more or less the same group of countries. And also you can see also here, I mean, there were like some other phenomena that are related to this map, and to us is like a support that we made a data set that is really telling us, or like closer approaching to the truth of this phenomenon.
That's the power when you can start combining data sets, of course, like you rightly mentioned. Inma, you have a question or remark as well.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to mention that as supervisor of Armando, I have to say that he worked very hard, and that the whole team with Cristina that is also present today and Constantine, we are very proud of his work. And just to mention that he continued also with another project for energy poverty, also collecting data, and we are now finishing this. And thanks to these two small projects, he was able to finish his PhD because his financing from Mexico stopped due to COVID as well. So therefore, thanks to these two small projects and now another European project that we have, he was actually benefiting a lot because he was able to finish his PhD successfully. So thank you very much also to the network. And I don't know if still there is time for Armando to say 2 words about the energy poverty project, just to take this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, I would say.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Well, yeah, the energy project is also, we collected information from the web about the measures that were implemented by governments to help the households not to fail into poverty, into the amount of energy that you need for basic needs. So we collected all the measures around the world during the pandemic. We also created this information in a map. It's open also the data set for accessing for everybody. And it's allowing also to analyze not only the geographical patterns, but also to follow up across years or across months, sorry, how the measures were changing. For instance, at the beginning, the countries were reacting fast to help the households in this topic about energy. So they were reacting fast and giving, for instance, subsidies or like stopping some increase in prices. And yeah, and you can see how is the reaction of the government development across time.
Important work as well. I'm very glad to hear that you could finish your PhD, and with this award, both teams get a travel fund that they can use to go to a conference or somewhere to talk about their open science project and to connect with other researchers on the subject, which is of course important here as well. Now this brings me to the end of the ceremony. I want to congratulate the 2 teams again for their work on open science. Thanks a lot for applying, and we are very happy to provide you with this grant. I'm going to finish off by giving you the link to our open science page on the ENLIGHT Alliance's web pages. Don't hesitate to see and to follow what we do. So just to give you a heads up, for next academic year, we plan several workshops where we will invite other applicants from this award to explain their work on open science as well and how they integrate it within their work. So stay tuned. Watch out what we are doing and join us for the next opportunities. For now, thank you for being here, and congratulations again to the winners of the award, and see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.